Welcome to the New South Wales Office of ETC. We've recently put together a 5S system, courtesy mostly of Graham Edwards and Scotty behind the camera. So we're just going to run you through the basic elements of the system and we can see how that can help us prep jobs and operate efficiently. Graham, if we were prepping a job, how does this all fit together and what would we do?
Well, basically, the way 5S works is the whole prepping process should work in a flow, so you should naturally go from one system, one bench to the other bench in a natural progression, so you never really forget anything, and also everything has its place, so no matter what happens you should know where everything is. So in terms of prepping, firstly you start with station number 1, probes and pitot, so fairly self-explanatory.
So yep, you select whichever probes and pitot you need for that job.
Yep. Then moving on to kit stations, so we have kit 2A, 2B. So the main goal is to have 2 going on at once, so we can have 2 separate kits. And moving through each kit, if you've got multiple items, you should actually be able to recognise straight away if it's missing anything. So this is for the tubs they go on every job. Every kit should have one of these as well.
Flows kit is much the same. So the idea of the system is that when things are on the bench, we know that they're complete and that they're ready to go out on the job no matter what. When things return from a job and they're incomplete, they will sit on the floor over here, and we know that anything on the floor is potentially not ready to go on a job. So once things end up on the bench, they're ready to go. If you're not sure, you can check the pictures. And obviously things like that, pumps, everything's marked on the benches. And as Graham said, everything with multiple items has a picture, so it should be pretty foolproof. Okay, Graham, what's next?
So moving on to station number 3, that's specialist gear. So this is all gear that doesn't go on every job, but it's more job specific. So the main thing is Dioxins and PAH gear. So what we do is we must take all 3 kits on each job. Here's the Dioxins and PAH kit. So inside each one, inside this you just have the submersible pump. This goes up the top with the necessary connections.
This one's impressive. This one's got all the other pieces and very neat and tidy.
And so it has a list on here of everything that it does have and everything that you need to get. So treated filters in the fridge, Dioxin resin. If you go through the list, you should never forget anything.
And what other sort of specialist gear is there? Anything in particular that's interesting, or different probe holders?
Yeah, there's a cyclone kit.
Joiner's hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, while we're here, Graham, perhaps we could discuss the. Well, should we move? No, we'll move on. As I said, broken gear. We'll do that at the end.
Oh yeah.
What's the next station?
Next one is consumables.
Consumables.
So we have solutions here. Everything's labelled, and Aldous is at the front. So once it's out of date, it should be discarded, and then everything's set up in such a way that if you're doing a metals run, you should have both of those, and they're right next to each other. So it's in an order which is easier to prep, and you never forget anything. So that's station number 4.
Should we have a quick look in the lab while we're here?
Yeah.
Okay. Desiccator. Everything's been proceduralised, really. Recipes. Glassware cleaning. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so after we've grabbed our consumables.
So station number 5 is gas bottles. Come this way. So everything's colour coded. Depending on the job, you know which gas you need to take. So they're all listed here. Then we also have the reorder
Instructions.
Instructions. So you should always have gas in stock, and you should always know which gas bottle needs to come on any job.
As an example, these 3 bottles have just arrived, and so they've just come into the receive gas bottles section. Scotty's just put together some new labels for them from the templates on the system, which we can show you where they are. Then Steve will put those into the system, and then they'll be in flows and they'll be ready to use.
So station number 6 is PPE gear. So each person has their own PPE section. This side of the band cupboard, yeah, is for PPE. The other side's more for miscellaneous gear. And if the PPE gear bags are back in the cupboard, then you should know that they're full and ready to go on a job.
Excellent. And maybe the last one we could show is the freighting area, which hasn't really quite been, well, it hasn't been given a number. We're still working a little bit on the freighting section, but basically that's all been organised too, so that everything has a place. We've got booklets for freighting, excess kilo stickers, Stanley knives and tape. This section here is also important. The prepping area, this is for a temporary storage while pumps are being charged, basically. So you know if they're there that they still may need charging and may not be ready to go.
We also have an odor section up the top, station number 7, but that's obviously fairly self-explanatory. And that's all the stations.
I thought we might just ask a couple of other questions of Graham, a couple of points to show how the system works. So if just say I was to borrow a piece of gear out of that flows kit, like what would be the operation there to know that, to keep that thing full? Like what do we do? How do I do it?
Yeah, well the system is, if it's on the bench, it has to be complete and it's ready to go on site. So once something's been removed from it, it has to be taken and put on the floor, so anyone can come across and tell it's incomplete.
So if I wanted to borrow that, I would take it. That sits on the floor, the picture there, and so we know that that kit is incomplete.
Yeah, and something's missing.
Okay, cool.
So only once that's been put back in its place can we put it back on the bench ready to go again.
Okay, cool. And the last thing is, what if a piece of equipment breaks? It has to be out of service. What do we do then?
Absolutely. So over here we have the out of service broken area. So anything that's broken needs to come across here, and then we can go through the necessary system to get that back into place. And also one last thing is, when prepping we have the list over here. So these are just a gear list backup checklist. So for all jobs we know what to take, and then it's job specific, so you can go through one by one, so you should never forget anything on site.
We discussed this quite a bit. We've had some disagreement as to the value of lists, because we understand that it may not fit exactly into a 5S system, but we think when we're super busy that it's good to have a backup list on the wall just in case the system breaks down, especially in its infancy. So we think these are a good backup, and yeah, just take you 2 minutes to run through them before you leave for a job, just in case. We'll see how it goes. Anything else?
No, that should be all.
Right, well, thank you very much, Graham and Scotty, for putting together this 5S system. It's very impressive, and you've done a good job.
Cheers.
Well done. Thank you.